All right. Welcome to the live stream, everyone. I'm Gabriel Benjamin, and today we're doing a special class for the hips and hamstrings to benefit the Dreamcatcher Foundation. So you won't need very much. It's going to be somewhat of a mellow class, but padding, if you have a carpet, maybe you can just do that, but a mat will be good. And I am going to recommend using some form of strap for a hamstring stretch that we're going to do at the end. So I have just a small scarf here, a longer scarf if your hamstrings are tight will be good. And if you don't have anything that you can use, such as a belt or bathrobe tie, you'll be able to use your hands. I'll show some different modifications for that. But anyway, thank you so much for coming. There's a link in the description below to make a donation. Any amount is perfectly welcome and greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin in a nice reclined position. So take your time, slowly lay down on your mat. Take some deep breaths and allow yourself to relax a little bit more in your body and your mind. Breathing and slowing down the thoughts a little bit. Bringing your awareness to your inhale, it's nice and deep. And your exhale, you breathe all the way out. And continue with the breath. If you're not naturally a deep breather, just try and add a little bit more volume each time you breathe in. And make sure to breathe smooth and breathe all the way out with the out breath. That's equally important to the inhale. Continue a few more deep breaths. Notice the qualities that you feel in your mind and emotions and body as you breathe. And go ahead and bring the feet, the inner feet together. Notice how the legs measure, if you feel equal or not. Just notice that. And then bend the right knee and open the knee for a nice tree pose, reclined. If you have like a cushion, you can put it under the knee if the knee hurts. And you're always welcome to come out of any pose if it doesn't feel right for your body. Otherwise, we'll sustain the tree with the option of taking the arms overhead, partly extended or fully. Keep the neck nice and lengthened as well. Take 5 deep breaths here. And take one more deep breath. Lift the right knee. Bring the knee into the chest. And roll out your ankle. Very smooth. Do both directions. And release right leg to ground. Bend in the left leg. Open the left knee, tree pose. And make adaptations if you need support with your hand or a cushion under your knee. 5 deep breaths here. And if it feels good, take the arms overhead, partway or fully. Keep the neck long. And continue with that focus on inhale and long, smooth exhale. One more deep breath. Yeah. Lift the left knee. Bring the knee to the chest. Roll out the ankle. And both directions. And then release the leg to the ground. Take a moment, take a breath. And then without using the hands, bend the knees into the chest. And keeping the feet together, re-extend the legs to the floor. And let's do that a couple more times just to warm up the core a bit. Now, if your low back hurts, you could leave the legs higher. Otherwise, you let them come all the way down to the floor. And continue. Just a couple more, 2 or 3 more. Breathing all the while, moving really deliberately. So you feel all those little muscles. And when you're ready, take a nice knees to chest. You can hug the knees in deeper or be more neutral, whatever you like. And you can also gently roll side to side. And from knees to chest, release the feet to the ground and extend the legs. Now point the right ankle and lift. If you can, lift until the ankle is on top of the hip socket and flex the foot and lower. Point the left ankle, lift, flex the foot, lower. Do a couple more rounds each side. If your hamstring's tight, it's fine to have the knee a little bent. But if you can keep the leg lengthened and active, then you'll get both more strength and flexibility from that. The flexing of the foot helps the calf To experience a temporary dynamic stretch, the Achilles as well gets a little flexibility. Moving smooth with the breath. Very good. Now the next time we lift the right leg, we're going to hold the hamstring. We're going to hold pretty low down, like near the hamstring connector. And again, if your hamstring's tight, you can have the knee bent. You can have the bottom leg bent, which really helps if you need. Otherwise, you aim to lengthen through both legs and you draw the toes down. But it's not so much about getting the deepest possible stretch. You can push the leg into the hands a bit and pull the hands back, and that counter pressure actually helps to gently traction the lower back. And you breathe. We'll do the same stretch at the end, but with something over the foot. So we'll get a deeper version of this. For now, we're just doing this low back traction version, still warming up, building circulation gradually with each breath. Good, and release. Let's take the other side. Lifting the leg, holding the hamstring if you can, hold near the hamstring connector. Remember your options, leg bent, both legs bent if you really need, and if you can, more of a lengthening quality through each leg. And if it feels okay on your calf and Achilles, draw your toes down. See if you can keep some space in the toes. If not, that's fine, but you can work on that over time for healthier feet. And of course, nothing benefits you more than deep breathing. The leg pushes into the hands pull back. Enjoy that lengthening of the hip and low spine. Breathing into all that space. And releasing the leg smoothly to the floor. We'll take knees to chest. Feel free to extend an arm and roll to that side, or hold the back of the knees. Rock back and come on up. Either way you lift up, gradually adjust to a nice hands and knees position. Have the shoulders above the wrists, or if the wrists are tender, you can have your hands a little more forward than normal. Your knees a little behind your hips, which will help to create a longer spine. And we'll roll the back. Exhale, rounding the back, and create a good tuck of the chin. And inhale, lengthen the spine. Keep the chin tucked until you've opened up through the chest a little more and the head lifts last. Continue. Try and feel sequential movement from the low back upward. You start each movement with the tail, and you finish each movement with the head. And you try and roll each vertebra individually like it's moving like a well-lubricated bicycle chain. Nice, smooth, fluid motion. If you don't feel fluid in the spine, just do the best you can. Breathe. And with regular practice, you'll start to feel that smoother and smoother flow through the body. Let's do two more. You can lift and squeeze the core to stretch a little more and strengthen if that feels good when you're rounding. Or you can practice in more of a relaxed way. Your choice. Very good. Come to neutral spine and then make the legs kind of wide. Release the feet back. Take child's pose with wide knees so you can stretch into your back and your hips a little more. and relax the head down. Now, if your torso or your neck's a bit stiff and the head doesn't naturally come to the ground, you can fold your arms under, and that way the weight of the head can be supported by the ground completely, and the neck doesn't have to hold that burden right now. Just breathe, feel present in your body, and just relax. Feel the spine and the ribs stretch with each deep inhale. So you're breathing so deep that this simple pose is still active with concentration, and you get more out of it with each focused breath. The inhale helps you to feel full, and the exhale helps you to let go. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and take a hands and knees position again with a nice neutral spine. Point the toes and extend the right leg. Then just lift as high as the hip. Lift the left arm. And this is a nice simple pose for the core. And we'll go ahead and switch sides. Take your time, still breathing, extending left leg, just hip level, option to lift right arm, and hands down, and switch. Now extending the right leg again, but then this time, flex the foot, and then bend the leg so that the ankle is on top of the knee, and you get a little bit of a hamstring contraction here. The muscles respond really well when they're both contracted and released, so we'll spend a little bit of time doing both today. And we'll do the other leg. Release, extend left leg, hip height, and then flexing foot, ankle above knee, neutral spine, deep breath. Very good, and releasing from that. Next, we're going to help the right leg step up. You might want to use your hand to help take a really long step to a runner's lunge. So the knee is above the ankle, as you can see here, or above the heel, right? You don't want the knee too far forward. And you can come up onto the fingertips so you're slouching less in your spine. If you have yoga blocks, you can use those, but a lot of people don't have those, so fingertips work pretty well as well. You work on lifting the chest. If your chest is really lifting, you know your spine is less slouched, and that's a good thing. Take 2 more deep breaths. And then we'll take a hamstring stretch where you bring the hands back, and again, use the fingertips. Consider bending the knee if you feel tight. You could point the toe and bend the knee if the hamstring really isn't giving. But if you can work into a deeper release, flex the foot, lengthen the leg, try and have less of a rounded back. So like naturally we slouch into it, but it's better if you can be more neutral, using a little bit more height for that, and taking some deep breath. Very good. And then tuck the chin and round the back, kind of like doing that cat roll. Roll back to the runner and then lengthen up. Glide back when you're ready to a nice child's pose. You can try child with the toes tucked. It's a little bit of a different stretch. And relax the head. All right, let's come back to a nice hands and knees position, and then help the opposite leg, the left leg, whatever's the second side forward, and remember to stack the knee right above the ankle joint. That's really healthy form there for the knee. We'll work on lifting the chest, having as long of a spine as possible. We're having long, deep breath as well. We'll take about 4 or 5 rounds here. Commonly, we might want to lift our chin, but instead really try and lift the sternum and have more of a neutral neck. Very good. Let's go ahead and bring the hands back, lengthen the leg. You can leave the toe pointed and the knee bent, but if you're able to lengthen fully, flex the foot, and then maybe prop up a bit so you're not rounding so much, then that's really nice for this half split or extended leg stretch. That hinge of the hips, the tilt of the pelvis to not round, will really give you a profound stretch in the hamstring. Lifted chest, neutral spine, just like in the runner. Let's take a breath or two more. Very good. Tucking the chin, now rounding the back, making a wave back to the front into a runner's pose. And gliding to hands and knees position. Now let's go ahead and tuck the toes under. Double check that the hands are even with the index parallel and push into the legs for a nice dog stretch. Hips high. If you feel tight in your hamstrings, have the knees bent. Otherwise, hips high. Eventually lengthen through the legs and press deep into the hands forward and down so you can lift out of the shoulders. Good. Let's lift the right leg. Lift slowly, but lift as high as comfortable. And enjoy that feeling of stretching and cultivating some good muscle tone side to side in the body. We'll lower that foot. Lift the other leg. Yeah, both feet come down, both knees down. And again, take a nice, relaxed child's pose. Come to sitting or a kneeling position, and then take another big step up with the right foot. Step twice as needed, so the knees above the ankle. Tuck under your back foot, lengthen the back leg. You can have the right hand on the knee and twist a bit. You can hold the low back if the low back needs support. Otherwise, have the right arm up to open and tone the shoulders a little bit more for this raised runner's twist. And come on down. Stay here. Take a high lunge with the back leg strong. Now, if your knee or your back's hurting, you can leave it bent a bit, but otherwise the length of the back leg is very good. Prop up onto the highest point of the fingertips. Notice you're using a little more strength and balance. Stay like this, or as an option, you can take the arms up to work on a little bit of muscle tone in your core. And then hands down. And again, we'll glide back to a nice dog stretch. Press forward through the hands. Nice relaxed neck. Knees down. Assist the left leg up. Knee above ankle, and then take your high lunge. Back leg very strong. And either hold the knee and twist a bit. You can hold the low back if you need support there. Otherwise, left arm up, back leg lengthened, deep breath in the raised runner's twist. Looking up is good, but if the neck is sore, just look down. Remember all the different modifications. If you can't breathe into it, then do an easier modification. And enjoy. Good, let's come on down. Stay in the raised lunge. Lift a little higher and either stay with the fingertips just hovering or getting the back a little more lifted. Option to extend the arms. This is nice work on balance and the core, mainly the back strength. Very good. Feeling a little more warmed up now. Let's take that nice heat that we've built in the legs back into a dog stretch, pushing the hips up and back, head down, tailbone tall. And knees down. Lengthen the spine fully. Let's go ahead and turn to the side now. Walk the feet apart to a straddle or take a light jump. Point the toes in slightly. Consider coming up onto the fingertips so that you can have a little bit more height for more length of the spine, less of a rounded shape, more of a flat back. Deep breath here, neutral neck, buoyant open chest. And let's add a little bit of flow. So bending the right knee, and then coming back to center, bending the left. Couple more rounds. When you're done with the left side, come back to neutral and bend the knees. Consider holding the thighs or maybe even the hips for support. We're going to stand tall and open up the arms. Turn the right foot open. It tends to maybe stay stuck diagonally, but really open the foot. Two opens better than not enough. You have the arms nice and lengthened, and you reach out and take a triangle pose. You can hold above the knee, just below it. Take the arm behind the back. Notice how I'm keeping my chest open and my abs integrated. If you can keep all that form and not lean forward, eventually you can hold lower, but holding lower is not the ideal if you're losing the form. Form and the breath come first. Everything else can follow. This is triangle with shoulder stretch variation. And we'll continue with our focus on deep rhythmic breathing. If you feel like you're locking out in your knee, just know that a slight bend is better than locking out. Length without locking out is perfect, but that bend is most welcome for those who are double jointed and tend to lock out, or if you feel too much stretch in your leg. Stay with the breath. Use your core and good pressure through both feet to lift on up, and then turning the right foot in, opening up that back foot. Spread the toes, extend the arms. Start with a simple form. And maybe you go a little lower if you can keep your chest open. Also notice I'm not rounding in my ribs. The ribs are lengthening, the legs are lengthening. You make the arms long, and then you take that top arm behind the back. Keep opening the chest. You can hold lower if you can keep all the form and your breath is smooth, but if not, just stay higher and don't worry about it. Remember your option to have a slight bend in that knee. Very good. Let's go ahead and press through both feet. Come on up and center the feet. Bring the feet a little bit closer and then open the toes and bend the knees. And this is the horse stance or the Devi Asana, the goddess pose. And we can move a little bit. So you lengthen and bend. This will help us to loosen up into it and get a little bit of strength in the legs. Do a couple rounds. And then bending, using the hands to help the knees widen, or you can push down on the glutes if you have any sacrum or low back pain, and then eventually the arms lift a little bit more. If you're newer to this, you can sit high. If you want an extra challenge for both strength and flexibility, you sit till the thighs are about parallel to ground. Good, and then release. Let's slowly bring the feet closer, and then the next pose is going to be sitting into a squat. Now, sitting in a squat may not feel good for your ankles or knees, so you could just sit down, bring the feet together, and open the knees. That's called butterfly. That would be a great alternative. Or if you have a stack of books or some yoga blocks, you can sit on those. Also, making sure the feet are plenty wide will actually make it easier for the Achilles tendon. We'll sit tall, widen the knees a bit, breathe deep. Very good. We'll go ahead and sit down all the way and adjust to facing the front of the mat again. Do a little strengthening pose really quick while we're here. So draw your sitting bones back. Lift the knees, start with them bent. Hold the ground or the legs. Otherwise, extend the arms for a little bit of balance. Then pointing the toes. This actually takes some flexibility in the hamstrings, and pointing the toes will help with that. You can take the full V seat or Navasana, keeping the knees and the chest high. If you're losing the lift of the chest, probably better to keep the knees bent, but if you can have that length of the spine and the legs, then that's good. Take that, breathe, and then switch back to a nice hands and knees position. Lower all the way to face down. And then inhale, lift the chest and feel open in the chest. Next, lift the hands just a little bit and then extend the arms back. Feet stay down this time. And go ahead and lower and place the hands under the hips. If it's okay on the neck, you can have the chin a little forward or neutral. Neutral is good if you do a lot of cycling and have your head up a lot. We'll lift the right leg, inner spiral the knee, hold, and switch sides. This takes a little bit of mobility in your hip and hip flexor muscles, and really it's good for strengthening and stabilizing hamstring, upper hamstring, glutes, and low back. Very good. We'll release that second leg. Hands come from underneath. Now lift the legs and the arms, opening up in the chest. Some deep breath here. Don't lift the head too much, kind of a little bit or more neutral with the neck. And then lower. Take the left arm under the forehead, then bend your right leg and stretch into a nice half frog position. If you can't reach the foot, you could use a strap around it, or you could have a friend or a family member push on your foot to give you a stretch. If your knee really hurts, you could always just sit on the ground and massage your thigh to get a muscle release that way. Otherwise, this stretch is really nice to release the thighs, the quadriceps primarily. Very good. Let's go ahead and switch sides. And when you're nice and complete with both sides, we'll take a release. And then next, we'll do a nice little Sphinx stretch. So elbows under the shoulders or a little on the wide side, and focus on really lifting the chest, shoulders open. If it's a hard stretch for you, you can bring your arms a little bit forward and wide. You don't have to lift very much to get benefit of extending the spine. And if you want to do a little bit more, if you can stay relaxed and breathe into it, you can lengthen the arms, shoulders back, nice open chest, and keep reaching back through the ankles. Flexibility in our thighs and our hip flexors actually helps with our spine, staying more flexible, especially in back bends. So even though this is more of a spine pose, the hips and the hip flexors primarily are definitely incorporated. All that work we've done to release them should help with this pose. Very good. We'll lower down. Hands alongside the chest, and lift slowly, tucking under the toes, and again, a nice dog stretch. Remember your options: knees bent, heels up. Primarily, you want hips high and to really lift out of the shoulders. All right, very good. And next, we're going to gently lower the knees and sit. We're going to sit almost like cross-legged, but really we want the ankles to move really far across. So you see how my ankles and knees are about the same width? As opposed to like meditation and traditional cross-legged seat is ankle in front of ankle and like a triangle base. This next pose is called the square pose. So we want to have a square base. So it's ankle in front of opposite knee. If your knees are tight and they're really high, maybe sit on a couch cushion or a folded towel or blanket, or a combination of all those things. Draw the hips back, proudly lift the chest, and then come forward a little bit at first, and eventually bringing the hands forward a little bit more. This should really help you to stretch deep into those hips, stretch the glute muscles that we strengthen with the locust sequence. Remember to soften the neck and shoulders as part of it. Breathe. Primary focus here in the yoga classes I teach is always the breath. Very good. Let's come on up. Still with the same order of which ankle is forward. Now we can switch to a cross-legged seat to see how that feels. We'll do a little breathing exercise that should help with a little bit of stress and anxiety. So you can place one hand to the upper sternum and one hand to the solar plex. Breathe deep into your hands. Hold the breath a little bit, And then we're going to exhale out through the mouth. Just let out that extra stress and anxiety. Very good. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in. Hold it. Good. Let it go with the exhale. Nice. And we'll take that nice relaxed feeling into the other side of the square stretch. So opposite ankle in front this time, working the ankles across so it's a square base. Hips back, maybe manually draw your sitting bones back a little bit. Lift through the chest and stretch forward and down with nice relaxed neutral neck. Good. And we'll come on up. Switch to a nice cross-legged position. And we'll go ahead and take a few cooling breaths now. So the last breath is more of a big release. And this is a little bit more to center and calm the mind. So you purse the lips like you're drinking through a straw. And you sip in that nice cooling breath. And exhale through the nose. And two more. Sipping in the breath. Exhale through the nose. One more. Sipping in the breath. Exhale through the nose. And switch. Hands and knees position. Extending the right leg back. Lift hip height. And now take a knee to nose flow. Re-extend. And switch sides. Extend the left leg. Lift hip height. Round the back. Really tuck the chin. So you're stretching and toning. Knee to nose. Re-extend. And then both feet down. Downward dog. This next pose is called the swan. So we're going to bring the right knee forward toward the inside of the right ankle. Inside of the right wrist, I'm sorry. And the right ankle is tucked back toward the left hip. And if you can, you lift the chest, kind of like the cobra stretch. Now this may be hard on your front knee, so you can sit up on cushions. And if even that doesn't feel good, you could do a lunge instead, and a lunge forward bend. Otherwise, we're going to here with the chest lifted for a moment, and then resting the head on folded arms, release the back foot. And if it feels good, you can extend the arms and go really deep into it. Breathing and relaxing through the shoulders and neck as well. And bring the hands back and lift. Glide back, downward dog. And take left side, swan pose. Come forward gradually. Notice how you feel. You want to feel reasonable sensations in the knees. Remember to sit on higher cushions if you need. Eventually the hands can come back a little more so you can feel more open in the chest. But if that doesn't work for your low back, hands more forward, don't worry about it. Breath or two more in the lifted form. And we'll melt into a nice forward bend. And then come on up into the lifted swan. Downward dog stretch. Knees down. Go ahead and pass through sort of sitting or kneeling. Bring the legs out from underneath. Legs in front. Hips draw back. Sit as tall as you can. Notice the strength and the flexibility it takes to do that. And lift the arms. Really work on lifting the chest. Setting the shoulders so you're not swallowing the neck with the trapezius, but having that perfect balance of feeling relaxed and also engaged in the pose with your eye gaze and breath. Very focused. Good. And arms relax. Next, we're going to bend the legs and take a diamond stretch. So bend and bring the feet together. It's like a butterfly, but butterflies with the feet really tucked in. And this is the feet pretty far out. And this creates a little bit of a hip stretch, but mostly like upper hamstring, which is one of those hard to reach areas. So go ahead and lengthen forward. Soften the back of the neck. Bring the hands and the elbows in a little bit. And breathe. If you're a cyclist who's ridden triathlon or time trial, it's kind of like being in the aero bars here. You ever notice when you ride up a hill really hard sitting in the saddle and you have pain in that upper hamstring? And this is a really good stretch to make sure those muscles don't get too tight. It's not about being crazy, uber flexible. You just want to make sure the body doesn't tighten up too much, especially as the years tick by. That becomes more important. Just take a little bit more time here, and of course, still breathing. Excellent. Let's release from that stretch. Scoot up until you have lots of room to lower back and down. Switch to knees to chest. And open the arms. Take the legs to the left with the body twisting right, using the left hand on the right thigh, right shoulder down. Deep breath. And if you feel a little tight in it, you can use your hand under the bottom or middle leg. Otherwise, using the hand to the top leg will help you go a little deeper. Enjoy the stretching through the spine. Keeping that right shoulder blade down will help to integrate the mid and upper back, even though you probably feel mostly a release in the low back and the side of the hip. Enjoy all those grander and more subtle sensations and keep breathing. And other side. Notice how you feel. You might feel a little more loose on one side. You can always emphasize a little extra time on the tighter side. If you feel equally flexible or inflexible, then you spend about 5 breaths on each side. And again, just like the other side, we want to keep the shoulder blades down. The left shoulder blade will tend to pop up, but keep it nice and grounded. And if you can keep that grounded and use a little leverage on your top thigh, do that. Modify accordingly if you need. Either way, enjoy nice, steady breath. Very good. Let's go ahead and unwind. Have the feet flat, the knees a little bent, and then take your strap, place it over the ball of the right foot, and extend the leg partway or fully. And if this is the deepest stretch you want, stay like this. And if you can go a little deeper, lengthen the bottom leg. That helps the low back to round less as well. One of the great benefits to this stretch is, unlike a lot of hamstring stretches, which include bending over and like rounding the low back, you have a nice neutral spine here. There's blood flow draining from your legs, so it's a slight inversion to the body. And you get a great stretch in your hamstring. And by using the cloth right over the ball of the foot and drawing the toes down, you get a calf and Achilles stretch as well. Hold firmly with your hands, but keep your shoulders against your mat, neck long. So you're using some strength, but also stay relaxed in the torso. Taking a little bit more breath. Take the foot a little bit to the inside. See how that feels. It can be nice to release down the side of the thigh and the outside of the hip. Very good. Come back to center. Switch legs. Bend the right leg down so the foot's flat. Start with that form. Place your cloth over the ball of the foot. If you don't have a cloth, hold your calf or your hamstring like we did earlier. Otherwise, Leg lengthened if it feels good, knees bent if you need, both legs lengthened if you can. And you really feel the length of the spine along the ground as you stretch and connect with your breath. Notice how the breath will help you to stay calm in the stretch, but there's this really nice soothing quality that your mind and emotions gain as well. You're breathing and enjoying all the benefits in the body, mind, and your heart as well. Very good. Let's stretch a little bit to the inside, feeling that outer thigh and hip get some nice extra circulation from the stretch and breath. Come back to the center. Both legs release to ground. Bend both legs. Now we're going to make the feet wide and bend the knees in. This is an internal stretch for the hips, but it really helps to open up the back of the hips, the sacrum, and the low back get decompressed from this. So this is really nice if you have some back pain from time to time. Relax here, taking 5 final breaths before we take our Shavasana pose. This stretch is one that feels tight for you, like you really need extra time for it, please feel free. Take an extra moment in the stretch. Take an extra minute or two if you want. But otherwise, now that we've completed about 5 breaths, we'll bring the feet closer together. Extend the arms and legs slightly open. Relax in the body. Soften the breath to just an effortless, natural flow. And close the eyes, enjoying this time to digest all of the sequence and postures we've worked with, and taking some time to relax and just to be. When you're ready, wiggle the fingers and toes. Slowly bring movement back to the body. Give yourself a well-deserved hug and knees to chest. And let's conclude in a nice, comfortable seat. Sit comfortable, sit nice and tall. Breathe deep. We're going to take a clearing breath and one Om to finish out our practice. So when you're ready, breathe in through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. And then inhale for the sound of Om. Namaste. All right. Very good, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Again, this has been a class for the hips and hamstrings to benefit the Dreamcatcher Foundation. So please click the link below, make a donation of any size, and know that it's greatly, greatly appreciated to help in the cause of towards putting an end to trafficking of Indigenous women. So thank you all. Thank you to my friend Shana Powless for starting this foundation and for helping collaborate with me on this project and spreading the word. And if you enjoyed this practice, use it again and again. This live video will be saved. Share it with your friends. And know that I have professionally produced videos on my channel if you want something a little more high quality. If you want to do another live stream, I'm typically doing them on Thursdays and Saturdays, sometimes Hatha Yoga and Vinyasa, a little bit more strengthening practices. But anyway, all are welcome back. My classes that benefit me are for donation as well. So everyone's welcome. And I look forward to the next time. So many blessings, take good care, and remember to hydrate as well as continue to breathe deep. That helps maintain more of the benefits from the yoga practice. Till next time, ciao.